Hey guys, so in this video, you're gonna see a live reaction of myself breaking down a sales call taken by one of my clients who's more so in the beginner stage of closing. And it's gonna be very insightful because you're gonna more so learn exactly how a call should be ran, what kind of questions you should be asking, how to actually locate the pain, how to ensure that you're asking the right questions and not the dumb questions, how to ensure that the prospect is actually giving you the correct information that you need, and really how to make sure that the prospect sees you as someone who can actually solve their problem. It's very, very important that you guys are doing these things consistently before you even get to the pitch. So go ahead and enjoy this video, and I'll see you there.
My name is Zoma. So I have a hard cutoff in 45 minutes. Cool if you just dive right in.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so two things. Number one is you shouldn't have said that. Like, it's good to say that to build frame and whatnot, but you can tell right away that these are like older people. They're like super nice. Like they like rapport building. They're very old school, right? So like they're not like the cocky real estate agent who's a dickhead. They're like they're like grandparents, dude. So like if you just spent a few minutes just building a little bit of rapport, I think it would have been great, and I think they would have opened up just a little bit more. Like you can kind of already just tell by this guy's face. He's like, okay, fine, like jerk. Like he's kind of just feels like that in his head.
He got pissed off. While I was asking questions, he got like, okay, you're asking all these questions. Why are you asking all these questions? Like, in the discovery process.
Oh yeah, you see, I'm not surprised, right? Because the thing is, when you said like, oh damn, I just accidentally skipped it. When you said that they're like we have like a hard cutoff and this and that, like it probably upset him like a little bit, right? But like if you deal with older people and they're like smiling like this and it's like they're already inviting, then it's like feel free to do a little bit of small talk. Like I know you're introverted like me, but like we can fake it, right? If like you can always just judge by their demeanor, right? By their body language. Like if they come in like this and they're like, yeah, man, what's up? Then obviously you can just dive right in. So I would have built a little bit of rapport with these guys.
Well, sorry about that. Hi.
Okay.
Like I would have said something along the lines of, "Hey, it's not too often I take calls with 3 different people. This is be a bit easy on me." And they kind of just like laughed a little bit. You know what I mean? They would have laughed a little bit too, and then they would have just seen me as like a young guy. They would have just been nicer, more receptive, something like that.
I'm doing good. Hi. Yeah.
How you doing?
Joel, Juan, and Denise. Yeah, I'm doing great.
Good.
My name is Zoma. So I have a hard cutoff in 45 minutes. Cool if you just dive right in.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So for this call, what I want to do is, obviously, Denise, I saw you in our school community. I saw you introduce yourself, and I really loved your introduction video. For this call in particular, what I want to do is, basically understand your guys' business, where you are at right now, and where you want to take it, right? The issues you're facing in the middle, and I want to see if and how we can help you solve that issue. So I just want to start by asking you a couple of questions, and by the end of the call, if you guys feel like this might be something you're looking for, we can then talk about the next possible steps.
Okay, cool.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. So I guess with that, the best place to start would be, what would you say is the biggest challenge in the business right now?
Getting the phone to ring with more buyers and more sellers. Joel and I are agents. We're a team.
Yeah.
One is our lender. So we work together as a team. So when we have buyers, they go to one, and sellers hopefully come to us.
Okay. So it's basically getting leads.
Yes.
Getting good amount of leads.
Get leads qualified.
Yep. Yeah, qualified leads, of course. What are your guys like process right now in generating with your lead generation? Do you cold calling or referrals? Like what's that process look like?
A little bit of both. We do cold calling, referrals, or database.
Okay. Cold calling. What if you see me looking at and
sphere of influence? We're just anybody that wants to purchase a home we're trying to reach, and whether sometimes we send out marketing pieces just to stay top of mind. But yeah, that's looking for leads.
Right.
And digitally we've put some. I know Denise is putting a lot of videos out there. I've seen Joel as well. I don't put as many videos out there, but yeah. So we're trying to generate some more eyeballs and hopefully say, hey, I want to buy a house. Yeah,
of course. And so with the things that you guys are doing right now, cold calling referrals and whatever you guys are doing right now, like it's not getting you the good amount of leads that you want.
Yeah, we just need more.
All right.
You could have framed it in like a different way though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I know.
Because again, like, yeah, never assume. Like, just always ask questions. Like, you want to remain like unbiased always.
So what would you say the number?
Sorry.
Like, what would be a better way to frame that?
You could have been like, what has been the quality? What has the quality been thus far? The leads that you guys have been acquiring, or are you guys happy with the quality of leads you guys have been acquiring thus far? Right, because it just gets them to open up a bit more. No, we haven't been happy. They've been pretty bad. Why do you think they've been bad? Right? It's just Whereas if you're like, oh, do you think the quality is bad? Yeah, it's bad. Okay, like why is that? Like it's a bit different, right? If you get them to say more, then they can expand more. But if you confirm something on, like, if you're like, oh, would you say that it's like this? It's just not as good. Always get them to talk more. I never assume.
Numbers are like within the last month of May?
Say it again.
The number of leads that you guys got last month, in the month of May.
Maybe like 15.
15. May and 15. What about in April?
That guy's pissed off, man.
But it's been about averaging 15 for the last 4 months.
All right, 15 for the last 4 months. And how many of those actually converted? Let's say last month.
One maybe.
Maybe
Maybe
two,
one, maybe
or
not
two,
even.
because they're from the
Maybe
internet, like
Yeah.
internet leads.
Okay. And have you guys done anything else to improve the system, like other than?
You see, the problem is it doesn't feel like a conversation. It just feels like an interview. Like if I was talking to them and they're like, yeah, like maybe even one, I would have been like, damn, like why do you think that is? Like it's like a real conversation. They would have been like, oh, it's a human being. He cares. Like he's receptive. Like you know what I mean? Like he's responding. Like for you right now, it's just like you're like this. You're like, okay, and like what happened there? Okay, and like what happened there? Like it's just you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a conversation. So that's why like the guy just feels like you're just writing down a bunch of notes, which is why he probably got a bit pissed off. Because there was like no reactions. You weren't adding on to what they were saying. You were just reading a script. Right? That's what it basically felt like. It didn't feel like a natural conversation. That's the problem. That's why he probably got a bit upset.
Cold calling and just relying on the
We got a website called Agent Locator that we run like PPC ads on the internet, and
Yeah.
those leads were coming in. So those are about the 15 leads that come in. You know, and
Okay.
they're low conversion ratio. Those type of internet leads tend to be low conversion ratio.
Yeah.
And from our listings, we get a listing, and we get some sign calls. Those are usually better quality leads because we're able to talk to them and convert them
And this has been going on for how long?
for a long time,
One time how we,
like a year. Oh,
Yeah.
watch out!
what was that?
This is butterfly. Okay.
UFO.
UFO, yeah, UFO. So it's been going on for a year. And
Correct.
right.
And that's just how we kind of transact, that's how we transact business that way.
Okay. And ideally, like, what are the numbers we want to target? Like, okay, we want this amount of listings, 4 to 5 listings next month. Like, what's the number we're
Yeah.
looking at?
So that would be ideal if we could take 3 to 5 listings a month. That'd be perfect.
I'd like more like 10. So
Mhm.
let's,
No, I want to be realistic.
well, I want, but
And
we
if you get 10,
if
we can
could,
handle
we can, yeah, we
15
can
to
handle,
20 listings
yeah.
a month.
we can handle
And we
it.
used to work
That's
for a
not
hedge
what-
fund company, which is a different type
far-
of business. It's more for
I have a question.
Mm.
Obviously, like it's like an interrogation, right? I'm asking questions, you're answering, and I'm not building any rapport. Like, I'm not. If I do that, like, it sounds awkward. Like I would just rephrase whatever they say, and ask my question.
Just treat it like a conversation, man. Like when they say something, like be responsive. Like over here, I would have said like, okay, I mean, seeing as how you guys want to get 15 listings a month, I like it. You guys are very ambitious. Clearly, you're not lazy agents, right? And then they would have laughed. You would have laughed, and you would have been like, well, what I want to know is, seeing as how this has been going on for a year, and obviously it seems to me that you guys are looking to get this solved like ASAP. Like, have you guys tried to fix this problem, potentially by speaking with any other companies like ours in the past 12 months or the past 6 months? Yeah, we have. Okay, and like, how did that go? Or no, we didn't. Why is that? May I ask why that is? We just didn't, see any company and this and that and that and this, right? So it's like you're figuring things out. You're getting out information that's relevant, and like you can't really add that into your script, right? That's more so conversational. It's just gonna come out. But the thing is, when you start asking questions like that, it sets the frame in a different way, and it puts you more in authority, right? Because when you're just, because any guy can just read off questions off a script, right? But in this situation, you're trying to be more of an engineer. You're trying to solve the actual problem, and you weren't doing that at all. You're just asking them a bunch of questions, and like they're just surface-based questions, right? And there's nothing really being built. So that's from his perspective, progress isn't really being made, because instead of like trying to solve anything right now, you're just kind of asking him a bunch of different questions, and it's not really going anywhere. That's the problem. So always try to make this conversational. It has to be conversational. Always has to be. Like if they say something and you can think of something relevant, add on to it instead of just moving on to the next question.
foreclosures, and we would take
Mhm.
15 to 20 listings a month.
Okay, ideally, like realistically, the number is like 2 to 5, but then we could even go for more, like 10 listings, 20 listings.
Correct. Because and for them it's a little bit different than for me, right?
Yeah.
For us, it takes about 12 leads to generate, one qualified buyer, and it takes 5 qualified buyers to turn into one purchase contract, right? So that's why the more leads, the merrier, because we got to filter through a lot of that before they actually can, be someone that Joel and Denise can actually go out there and show them a home. And I think on the listing side, the conversion rate may be a little bit higher, right? Because if you own a home and you want to sell, you find a little bit,
You see, you've already lost frame. It's like he's the guy who's like educating everyone now.
Just got to find.
No, the thing is, I couldn't tell you this because I'm not too familiar with the real estate industry, but what he's saying, what he's educating you on, these are questions you should have been asking them, right? So you could have been like, okay, like on average, like how many listings do you guys need to actually go ahead and see a potential buyer? Oh, we need like between 12 to 13. Okay, got it. And like how many are you guys getting right now? 1 to 2. Okay. So when would you say is the last time you guys even got to see a buyer, right? You're actually calling them out, which is good, right? And then they would have been like, oh, it's been like a few months. Okay, got it. Like that's pretty urgent. Have you guys done anything to solve that? You see how that makes you like way more authoritative rather than the guy who's just like, okay, next. It's a huge difference. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
On one end, it's like they're not going to get pissed because you're asking them a lot of questions because you are making progress. The needle is being moved consistently, right? But right now, it's like although somewhat progress is being made, it's too slow.
And those willing, and wanting to sell.
Yep.
It's the buyers that there's a certain percentage of buyers that it ultimately will turn into a qualified and closed buyer. But we got to sift through a lot of that. We got to move a lot of dirt to find that nugget of gold.
Yeah. Yep. And in terms of like the GCI goal.
Yeah, and our job is to make sure that we can get a bunch of those nuggets because right now there's literally none, right? You make a comment like that, you know what I mean? Like make it go forward, make it go forward. Like you got to add on to what he's saying. See, you just ask the next question in the script. It's like he says something and then you're not responsive to it. You know what I mean? I think I made the analogy. It's like if you're on a date with a girl and you're super nervous, typically what a guy will do is he'll just ask her a bunch of questions and he won't really respond to what she's saying. You know what I mean? Like in his head, he's gonna be like, oh fuck, like what do I say next? What do I say next? What do I say next? I remember like when I was a very awkward teenager, that was me, right? Like if I went on a date, I was like, I used to have like my phone, I used to have like questions I was gonna ask. I was such a fucking dork when I was like 15, right? But like I was a kid, I didn't know what I was doing, right? And it would just ended up being a weird date because it just wasn't a conversation, right? Whereas now if I was to go on a date and I know what I'm doing, it's gonna feel like a normal conversation between two people, right? That's what it has to be over here. Over here, it's like it's not a conversation. You're just asking them a bunch of questions. It feels like an interview.
Do we have a number in our?
Yeah, so GCI, we would like it to be between 800 and 900,000. More is fine, but minimum 800.
Yeah. 800 minimum. And have we ever achieved this number?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how did we achieve this? When was this?
Worked our asses off.
Well,
Of course.
so we were getting leads from another company, HomeLight and Ideal Agent. They had a lot of leads coming in. We had to pay them a referral fee.
See, now this is information you could have extracted beforehand. Now he's telling you that he's worked with another company. But the thing is, you could have brought that in previously, like I said. And again, like you can't really have this on a script because if you have it on a script, here's why scripts, like I told you this before, scripts are always structures, right? The thing is, technically you can have all these questions on a script, but then it's never going to work because then you're going to be like, oh shit, when do I ask this question? But that's not how it should be. It should all be, there should just be a structure that you're following, a general structure, and you should have like a bunch of different questions that you can potentially ask top of mind, right? And they'll come as they go, as the call starts to progress. But the thing is, I feel like you rely too much on your script where you're like, okay, worst comes to worst, I can always know what to ask next if things get awkward. But if you do that, then the call's never going to go as planned because you can never really prepare for these things, right? Like they might cut you off, they might ask you a random question, then you got to go back off course. But if you have the structure in mind and you have that structure memorized, then you're going to know, okay, the call is going this direction, let me ask this question, or let me ask that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Their leads have dried up with the change of the market.
Okay.
So we're trying to generate our own leads, not depend on someone else.
So the 800K we did before, was through a lead generation company that we outsourced.
Okay, so you see what he just said here. Like, if you don't fix this part, you just won't even get to close. He said something along the lines of, we worked with, like, correct me if I'm wrong, right? I don't know if I'm just hearing things, but he said something like, we've worked with a lead generation company, they gave us leads, we don't want to be relying on someone else. Is that what he said?
Yeah, that's what we picked up on our last review as well. I didn't pick up on this when I was on the call because I was so dialed in on, like, I was so in my head
There you go,
Think-
right? See?
thinking
So
about the conversation.
what I would have said right then and there is I would have just like called it out. I would have been like, hey, I need to address something, guys. Obviously, we're a lead generation company, and part of this call is like the first 5 minutes is for us to figure out, can we even help you in the first place? Because if I figure out that we can't help you, we're not going to waste your time. In fact, we'll just refer you to someone who can actually solve your problem. So super quick, you said that you worked with a lead generation company and that you guys do not want to rely on another company. Can you expand on that a bit further? Like, what did the results look like? And whether or not it was good or bad, then you could have been like, okay, now when you say that you don't want to rely on another company, like, why do you say that? What do you mean by that? Right. And then if they said, oh, we want to learn the skill ourselves, then they might not even be a good fit for you, right? Because if they hold that belief that they don't want to work with another company, they don't want to be relying on somebody else, and what are they even doing on the call with you? Because you got to figure out, are they even receptive to let somebody else solve their problem? Right. So these are things that are very, very important, because if they hold this belief that they don't want to be dependent on another company, then like, what are you guys even doing talking? Like, are they even open to help? So I would ask that question. I would be like, okay, like, hey, just so I can stay organized on my end, like, would you guys be open to potentially working with another company that can help you? Because you guys said that you don't want to depend on anybody, but obviously, like, we're on this call to see if we can help you anyway, right? So I just want to get that out of the way, right? And again, if you say that with confidence, then they're going to tell you, and you can even figure out if there's even any point in having the call. That right there is by far the most important thing that happened in the call, and you missed it because you were so nervous thinking about what to say next. So it's like you're not really even in the call; you're more so in your head. That's the problem.
Yeah, and
Now
this
that-
is where the guy got pissed off. Like,
Yeah,
pissed off at
So it's literally like the guy who's on a date, but he's so nervous that he's not paying attention to what the girl's saying, right? He's just thinking about what he's gonna say next, and that's the problem. Every time they're talking, you're just thinking about what you're gonna say next, because you're like, I don't want to look stupid. I want to look professional. I don't want to look dumb. But you're not thinking about what they're saying, and the problem is that you not like actually internalizing what they're saying and understanding it and responding back is what's gonna make you look dumb and unprepared.
That's not working. That's not working anymore.
A big portion
Yeah,
of
not
it,
all
yeah.
of it, but a portion of good sized portion of it.
Okay. So do you guys feel like, okay, what do you have going on right now without the other lead gen company? We can still get to 800K GCI, or
I'm just
we need to-
curious, how does that affect new business coming in? Like, how does that affect what you guys will do for us?
what do you mean by that exactly?
Because on the interview, you're trying to see like what kind of business are you guys doing now? What kind of leads do you have coming in? Obviously, we're not having enough leads come in because we wouldn't be looking for another source of lead generation.
So again, if you had done what I told you before, then he wouldn't even have said this. But how can we fix this now, right? Well, what I would have said in this situation is I would have been like, what's his name, by the way? His name is Joel, right? I would have been like, hey, Joel, I totally understand where you're coming from. You're probably like, why is this guy asking me a million different questions? Well, it's very simple. I'm just trying to see if we can even help you in the first place. And for me to actually do my due diligence, I got to figure out who did you work with and what did they even do? What I'm really just trying to figure out right now is what was done in the past so the mistakes are not repeated. Number one. And number two is I'm trying to figure out what efforts that you guys even utilize to see if they can match with what we do. Right. So again, if you had said that, again, it puts you in an expert frame, because right now he's just seeing you as a guy that's just asking him a million different questions.
Of course.
So
it's like Jeremy Miner when he's like, I don't even know if we can even help you yet.
So if you're going to provide some type of system that's going to generate leads, it should be relevant what we're doing right now, I would think.
Yeah. The reason why I was just asking the question, like I said from at the start of the call, is I just really want to understand your guys' situations first, like what you've tried in the past and where you're trying to get to, right?
Right.
Have we ever hit that 800K? Okay, how did we hit that 800K? So
Right.
from then on, like I could personalize the information that I'm going to give you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So like that way, it's a much more personalized information for you guys instead of
Okay.
just giving you guys a cookie cutter information, which is why I'm just trying to understand your business a bit more.
Okay, sounds good.
I would think though, that was a really good question, I think. Because primarily, if I'm correct, most of your business, your company is just working with realtors, is
This
it
is
not? That's your
correct.
primary business.
Yeah, go ahead.
because like this is basically when the discovery ends, because
Okay.
like that shit happened and it got into my head and I was like, and also I felt like okay, I have the information I need, which
Yeah.
is really like all surface level, and then I transition into the page. I share my screen, and yeah, that's how it went.
So I
Correct.
would imagine for most of your calls when you talk to agents now, like right now in this period, because three of us know the market has dropped 25-30% nationwide, you're
Mhm.
probably hearing the same thing from everybody. We may say it differently, but
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
the day
Of
we're all
course.
having the same issue. Our business has dropped and we're trying to find all those people that are wanting to sell or are wanting to buy. We want to find them before any other agent or mortgage broker does.
Exactly.
Of course. Of course. So the main
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, and you're right. While there are many different commonalities, between many of the agents we speak with, the efforts that they have utilized to solve those problems are always vastly different, right? Some agents, it's like they haven't made any commission in the past 2 years, and when I ask them if what have they done to solve their problem, they say nothing, right? Which is insane, right? Some agents have actually worked with lead generation companies, but just got no results. And some agents, they work with lead generation companies, and then they got really good results, and then they just stopped working with them for some reason, right? So information like this is very, very important for us to dictate, number one, whether or not we can even help you in the first place, and number two, to personalize a solution that can actually work for you guys. Does that make sense? Perfect, right? So again, just be confident, say it with your chest, and be logical. Like logic always wins, right? Always, 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 always be logical. Like the fact that they're even on a call with you in the first place means that they obviously have a problem. You already have more more advantage than they do, right? Because you're already in a position of authority. Like in like the first I'd say the first 2 minutes of a sales call is kind of like tug of war to see who can get more frame. Obviously, you lost a frame in this situation. So then they were already more skeptical in terms of like why is he asking us so many questions and this and that and that and this. If I had taken the call, I would have been super authoritative from the get-go, right? Obviously. And then they wouldn't even have asked me why am I asking them so many questions, because I would have just dove right in and I would have figured out like, hey, like what did you guys do in the past? Like I want to know like why has this problem not been solved? Like why has it been 6 to 8 months of you guys selling a house, right? And then they would have seen me as an authority figure that's like, oh shit, this guy's like actually just trying to figure out like he's calling us out, right? Like he's there to figure out like what are we doing wrong? Damn. It wouldn't have been like, oh, why is he like when you go to the doctor, you're not like, why the fuck the doctor asking me so many questions? You're like, damn, he's trying to save my life, right? It's kind of like that. So if I'm asking them a bunch of questions, each question is relevant, and I'm trying to figure out what the root cause is. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out what is the root cause that's poisoning their success, right? But in your situation, it's kind of like you're just asking them a bunch of different questions that aren't going to figure out where the poison is actually lying, if that makes sense. Right. So it's like imagine you go to the doctor and the doctor just starts asking you about your personal life. You'd be like, the fuck? Like asking me questions about my health, right? Like actually like let's figure out what's going on. In this situation, you're just asking questions for the sake of asking questions. You don't ever really want to do that. I'd rather you ask less questions and have a shorter discovery than ask more questions and have a longer discovery if the discovery is fairly redundant, it's not going anywhere. That's how I want you to look at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
This
if you
one-
can be an authority figure for just 2 minutes and for some reason you can't after that, then be an authority figure for just 2 minutes and then go to the pitch. I'd rather you do that, because like you saw in the course where I said the sale always happens in the discovery, right? And it's true, because in the discovery process is like when they go into like that buying mood. If they're not in a buying mood by the time the discovery ends and they don't see you as an authority figure, they're never going to buy from you. They're just like, cool, let me see what the kid has. But they're not going to take you serious, right? So always like look at it like that. Like frame, I think for you, the frame is the most important thing because you're having self-confidence issues. So I would focus on that like the most. Is just like how can you appear to be more confident on the actual call? That's what I would focus on the most.